Hi everybody, in this video I want to show you a conversation between three people on television in relation to football. They have a debate about the players they predict will be very good in 2021, and some of the vocabulary is very conversational, very native, and I want to show you the text from the chat and to try and teach and show you the important vocabulary from the conversation. Okay, so now I will share the screen and you can see the video on the left. So this is the conversation. It's from a popular television program on the BBC, and two former ex-players, okay, Jermaine, Jenas on the left from Tottenham Hotspur and Newcastle, and on the right we have Stephen Warnock from Liverpool and I think Wolverhampton Wanderers as well. Okay, so the title of the video is Premier League Players to Watch in 2021. Okay, so first I will play the video and you can try to understand the video. It's 2 minutes for yourself, and then after I will explain the vocabulary here. This is the script of the vocabulary, and I will identify and talk about the important typical expressions from football specific. Okay, on the left we have word reference if we need to translate. Okay, and on the bottom right I have my notes for extra apuntos to make hacer apuntos. Okay, so this is the video, and hopefully you can hear it perfectly with the sound. So I'm going to play, and you can try and identify what they say.
To each give us a team. We've asked Jermaine and Stephen to each give us a team of their ones to watch in 2021. We wanted players who are on the rise, not necessarily established. Let's take a look at Jermaine. Centre half John Stones, who's got 39 caps. Yeah, but there is a reason for that, because arguably he is England's best defender at the moment. Yeah, these 2021, could come. They're like comebacks almost. You know what I mean? Or people that I put Phil Foden in there, for example, but he's a player that I don't think's been quite let off the leash. He's been held back at Manchester City, and I feel like 2021 is one of those big moments. But the two players, that I really want to kind of get into, Matty Cash and Douglas Luiz. I think Matty Cash from Forest has been a sensation at Aston Villa, and he's hit the ground running, been brilliant. And Douglas Luiz in that midfield area, he's one of the most underrated players I think in the league. He's really improved over the last 12 months, hasn't he? He's a top forward, top central midfield player, and I think himself and McGinn really formed a partnership. Do you think the formation's helped this year though? I think it suited him having a better balance in front of him. Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I think Villa as a whole just seems to have a better balance, and I think within that he obviously sits nicely. But I just think as a footballer as a whole, himself, Matty Cash, I think 2021 going to be really wants to look out for. Villa players feature heavily in your team as well. You both went with Martinez in goal. What's interesting in your team as well is a couple of players who've only recently started to feature for their clubs, in Otasawi at Wolves and Ramsey at Villa. Yeah, well, Owen Otasawi was one that I went to the game versus Chelsea to cover the game for 5 Live. He came on at half time. 6'2", 6'3", powerful player, good reading of the game, excellence on the ball, based from New York, American international player. But he's only 19 years old, and you think of Neves and Moutinho in midfield. But then the other player I went for, learn off them, can't he? Oh, of course he can. But the other player I went for was Jacob Ramsey as well, from Aston Villa. Played the game, started the game against Wolves. You think get thrown into a derby. He was outstanding in the game. And what's great about it is you can see the other players are comfortable with it. They trust him on the ball. Unfortunate not to score when he came on against Chelsea midweek. Matty Cash going to have to go somewhere. They need to get past the right backs. Oh, there's a few in there. There's a few, yeah. Thanks for.
Okay, so you can see it was very fluent and very normal conversation. Some people maybe understand more or less the chat and the conversation, and other people maybe it was more difficult. So now I will show you the text. So this is the seconds, in the interview. That's the time in the interview, 13 seconds, 15 seconds, okay? And this is the name of the person who's speaking. So the blue is the man in the middle, the person who's controlling the conversation, the presenter or the interviewer or the host, okay? On the left is Jermaine Jenas, and also we had Stephen Warnock on the right in yellow. Okay, so in the first part, he says, we've asked Jermaine and Stephen to each, cada uno, give us a team of their ones to watch. So this is an expression, uno's para ver, in relation to potential. So he is one to watch. He has potential. This player has a lot of potential in the future. Para crecer, to grow, para desarrollar, to develop. So he is one to watch. Okay, so it's a very good expression. And that's the situation. They're looking for players with ones to watch in 2021. We wanted players who are on the rise. So the verb is to rise, como incrementar, crecer. So players on the rise. So this level at the moment and rising, rising, rising. So not at the top, but on the rise. Okay. Let's take a look at Jermaine's first of all, primero de todo. Okay. I'm happy that you got, so that's a little broma, a little joke. It was difficult to catch. So it's only because you've included England's centre half. So remember yesterday we had the centre half, number 4, number 5, centre half or centre back, central defender, 2 or 3 possibilities for vocabulary. John Stones, who's got, or tener, who has, and this is the verb tener in the auxiliary, has, who has got, 39 cap. And in English, you have a cap when you make one appearance for the international team. So John Stones, has 39 appearances for the international team and they have a cap, okay? But there's a reason for that, because arguably, so the verb to argue is discutir, and arguably, specifically, is very important in English. Poderse decir, poderse mantener, discutible, I think that's perfect. So he says, arguably, he is England's best defender at the moment on form. So in relation to form, okay? So for example, this player is rendimiento, the performance is very good. This player is not so good. So form is this week, next week, the following week. So good form, okay? Consistent, in relation to consistency. And then Jermaine says, yeah, these are people that I'm thinking in 2021, could come. It's their like comeback. So a comeback is a remontar. Very important. The verb is to come back. So in relation to the team, Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, Atletico winning 2-0, and then Barcelona 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, a comeback. Okay, remontar. And almost you'd know what I mean, or people that it's like I put Phil Foden in there in the equation, for example, but he's a player that I don't think has been quite bastante. This is a famous expression, let off the leash. So let is permitir, and let off is como ser libre, liberar, and then the leash is related to the dog, el perro. Y puedes escuchar mi perro también, pero leash is como the cable, specificamente for the dog, and leash here you can see specifically is correa for the dog. Okay, so permitir fuera del correa, so liberation. So in relation to Phil Foden, he's restricted según Jermaine, according to Jermaine, he's restricted. Okay, held back. Held is tener, and in the past, to hold, tener, is the verb, and held back is the past simple. Okay, held, restricted, held, and then the phrasal verb, held back, restricted. Okay, for the future, and at Manchester City, and I feel like 2021 is one of them big moments, but the 2 players for me that I really kind of want to get into, como debate debater, to debate, to speak, hablar sobre. Matty Cash and Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. You know, I think Matty Cash, coming from Forest, Bosque, pero el equipo en Inglaterra es Nottingham Forest. Okay, has been a sensation at Aston Villa, and he has hit the ground running. Very famous expression. I'm going to write here: to hit is golpear, ground is suelo, and running is corre. So it's an expression for a ficha, a nueva ficha, cuando the primero temporano, and the first season, they hit the ground, and it could be disaster, collapse. That's one possibility. Collapse, disaster. Second possibility, éxito, success. So they hit the ground and they continue con éxito. Okay, very good expression, to hit the ground running. Good quality, and then he's been brilliant. And Douglas Luiz in the midfield area is one of the most underrated. So under is bajo, and rate is valuation. Okay, so to rate is como valuar, and underrated is bajo valuar, and then the opposite is possible as well, overrated, if they have excessive valuation and it's different from the reality. Okay, so underrated and overrated. Okay, and then the continue interviewer asked the question, he's really improved, mejorar, over, sobre, durante, the last 12 months, hasn't he? So that's very grammatical. It's a question at the end. And in English, the grammar term is a tag question. Okay, so the grammar term is a tag question. Hasn't he? Don't you? Won't you? Isn't he? They're the typical words at the end of the sentence to ask the question. Okay, and that's exactly the same. So he says he's improved. No, it's for the question. In Espanol, no. Okay, so the next one. He's a top footballer, jugador, top, but top is more descriptive. Top footballer. And I think, you know, himself and McGinn really form a partnership. So the partner is a pareja, and partnership is just a formar un equipo. Okay, so the form of partnership. Do you think the formation has helped this year, though? And again, this is like a tag question, very similar to this. Aunque, pero, okay? Because I think it has suited. It's like comfortable, cabe. But the accent was very difficult in the video. This word suited was very strong with the accent from Liverpool. And that's the reason I identified it was very strong with the accent, okay? So to suit is the verb, and it's related to comfortable. Is it very comfortable? For example, with the time, 6 o'clock is good for you. Está bien para ti. It suits you, okay? So it's very typical in English and very common to suit. And también is a traje. Suit is a traje, but it's related to cabe también, to fit, comfortable, appropriate, okay? The balance in relation to football is the equilibrium. So he has a good balance, a good equilibrium in English también, a good balance in the midfield or in the defense, in the team in general. Yes. And then he says, yeah, probably. But I think Villa as a whole is like, in general, como uno, as one. So the equipo como uno as a whole. So whole is like the whole day. Is like all the day. So whole is very important in English. And here, as a whole is like as one. As a whole, as one. Okay, and then yes, as a whole is como uno. Okay, as one. Okay, and just seem is parecer, to have a better balance. And I think within that he obviously sits. Okay, so the verb to sit is sentarse. In relation to football is the position. So you sit in midfield, and nicely is comfortably, muy bien, okay? Está bien, okay? So he's very comfortable in the good position, right? But I think as a footballer, as a whole, como uno in general, in total, himself, Mati Cash, okay, so I think it's the Y, and I think 2021, I know, are unos, jugadores, to look out for, para buscar, para ver, okay? Yeah, so it's como to watch. They are ones to watch. It's the same as that expression, the ones to watch. And then they continue, and he says, Villa players feature. So feature is very important. It's como parte de. The player, jugadores, feature in the team, a parte de the team. Heavily is like mucho. So Villa players feature heavily, está into equipo mucho, in your team también. Okay, you both went with Martinez in goal. What is interesting in your team as well, también, is a couple, algo, jugadores, a couple, dos, a pareja of players, quien, who have only recently started to feature, como jugar, to play, aparecer, for their clubs, in Otasawi at Wolves and Ramsey at Villa. And then he says, yeah, well, Owen Otasawi was one that I went to the game versus Chelsea to cover the game for 5 Live. Es el nombre del estación de radio, the program, okay? He came on, okay? So the verb to come on in relation to a substitute, the substitute come on. On is the preposition for the pitch. So he came on in the past, and very important for the substitute. So always the substitute comes on, okay? And it's typical for the pitch, comes on the pitch. Campo, okay, so pitch is campo. 6 foot is related to the altura in relation to people. We say foot, so 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 6 foot. In Espanol, maybe it's metros, but in English, it's foot, okay? And he's 6'2", 6'3", so bastante alto, powerful, poderoso, good reading of the game. So this is a very good expression, reading of the game. So read is leer, okay, so leer el libro, to read the book, but in relation to football, leer el partido, so to read the game, anticipate, to read the game. Very good expression in relation to player, in relation to football. Excellent, fantastic, amazing on the ball. Again, that's a good expression, on the ball. Como con el balón, with the ball. Okay, so good with the ball. And from New York, American international player, but he's only 19 years old. This is the verb to be, he is. Okay, so really he is. He is only. And in Español es tener. Por ejemplo, tengo 34 años, pero in English it's a verb ser, to be. I am. So it's very different. In Spanish, it's tener, con años. In English, it's the verb to be, ser. Very big difference. And you think of Neves and Moutinho in midfield, but the other player I went for, él puede aprender fuera de ellos. Okay, so he can learn off them. Canti, so that's exactly the same, the grammar, the tag question for English, to ask the question. And then he says, oh, of course, claro que sí, él puede. But the other player I went for was Jacob Ramsey as well, también, the Aston Villa, from Aston Villa. Played a game, started, iniciar, el partido contra Wolves, against, and you think, get thrown into. Okay, so this is a good verb. Throw is tirar, throw. Thrown is the participle. Tirado, entro, okay. A derby, okay, so poner, like tirar, the manager, throw the player, inexperienced player, in the derby, okay. There's another expression as well, we say thrown in, so let me write here, thrown in at the deep end. So end is in the swimming pool, piscina, you have this deep end, and profundo is deep, and you're thrown in the deep end. It's a dangerous situation, and you have 2 options, where there's nadar, swim, or inundar, to sink. So 2 options, sink or swim, thrown in at the deep end. Very good expression for football. And the same here for this situation with the player in the derby. He was thrown in the derby, but he was outstanding. Sobre saliente. And what is great about it is you can see the other players, so other, for the plural, are comfortable with him. Other players are comfortable with him. They trust, confiar. Okay, in Espanol, it's confiar en, con el verbo, but in English, it's just confiar él, confiar ella. And let me write, so the verb is to trust him. Okay, to trust him, to trust you, confiar a ti, to trust you. In, no, so no in. But that's the verb, okay? So I'm just going to emphasize the verb, to trust. And the substantivo, to have, trust. So trust is the noun in this case, is possible with in. So the difference with the verb, trust, no preposition. So trust him, trust me, trust you. But with the substantivo, como tener, is possible in. Very important difference. Very basic, very small, but very obvious and important. On the ball again, so ability on the ball. So they trust him con el balón. Unfortunate, not to score. So mal suerte, not to score, marcar. Cuando he came on as a substitute contra Chelsea in midweek. So week is semana and mid is the middle. So midweek is maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, martes, miércoles. Okay. And then he says, Mati Cash, jugador de Aston Villa, se va para hacer, to go somos para hacer mucho, to superar, to get past los otros right backs por la selección de Inglaterra. Okay, so Matty Cash is going to have to go some to get past the right backs ahead of him. And then he says, this is, yeah, there is a few, hoy un poco, or hoy muchos, in the equation, in the mezcla, in the mix, okay? And then there's a lot of laughing because it's a joke. So this is the vocabulary. I recommend that you review the vocabulary again. And now I'm going to voy a mostrar el video de nuevo. Y ojalá que puedes identificar o escuchar las palabras y las frases de los textos, ¿vale? Ok, so vamos a ver. Aquí este video de nuevo y juega de nuevo, ¿vale?
We've asked Jermaine and Stephen to each give us a team of their ones to watch in 2021. We wanted players who were on the rise, not necessarily established. Let's take a look at Jermaine. We've asked Jermaine.
Espera, porque al lado yo pongo aquí el texto para mejorar. Okay, so aquí primero, vale.
Stephen, to each give us a team of their ones to watch in 2021. We wanted players who were on the rise, not necessarily established. Let's take a look at Jermaine first of all.
I'm just glad you got that in there.
Well, it's only because you've included England centre-half John Stones, who's got 39 caps. Yeah, but there is a reason for that, because arguably he is England's best defender at the moment on form.
Yeah, these are people that I think in 2021, you know, could come. They're like comebacks almost. You know what I mean? Or people that I put Phil Foden in there, for example. But he's a player that I don't think's been quite let off the leash. He's been held back at Manchester City, and I feel like 2021 is one of those big moments. But the two players for me that I really want to kind of get into, Matty Cash and Douglas Luiz. You know, I think Matty Cash coming from Forest has been a sensation at Aston Villa, and he's hit the ground running. He's been brilliant. And Douglas Luiz in that midfield area, he's one of the most underrated players, I think, in the league.
He's really improved over the last 12 months, hasn't he?
He's a top footballer, top central midfield player, and I think himself and McGinn really formed a partnership.
Do you think the formation's helped this year, though? Villa, I think it's suited him having a better balance in front of him.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I think Villa as a whole just seems to have a better balance, and I think within that he obviously sits nicely. And I just think as a footballer as a whole, himself, Matty Cash, I think 2021 going to be really, ones to look out for.
Villa players feature heavily in your team as well. You both went with Martinez in goal. What's interesting in your team as well is a couple of players who've only recently started to feature for their clubs, in Otasawi at Wolves and Ramsey at Villa.
Yeah, well, Owen Otasawi was one that I went to the game versus Chelsea, covered the game for 5 Live. He came on at half-time, 6'2", 6'3", powerful player, good reading of the game, excellent on the ball, based from New York, American international player. But he's only 19 years old, and you think of Neves and Moutinho in midfield. But then the other player
he can learn off them, can't he?
Oh, of course he can. But the other player I went for was Jacob Ramsey as well, from Aston Villa. Started the game against Wolves. You think getting thrown into a derby, he was outstanding in the game. And what's great about it is you can see the other players are comfortable with him. They trust him on the ball. Unfortunate not to score when he came on against Chelsea in midweek.
Matty Cash going to have to go some, isn't he, to get past the right backs ahead of him?
Oh, there's a few, isn't there? There is a few, yeah.
Ok, muy bien. Y ya está. So, creo que es más cómodo y más fácil con el texto a la derecha, al mismo tiempo con el video a la izquierda, ¿vale? Ok, gracias for watching. Thank you for watching. I hope that you have a good day. And if you have any questions or comments, you can put the comment on the video, and hopefully I will talk to you soon. Ok, gracias y adiós.